Wow. Well, let's talk about that in relation to Churchill, because Churchill had a lot of failure in his political career. I mean, he ultimately led the British Empire through World War II and helped save Western civilization, as you point out in your book. But he had a lot of failure. He didn't always connect, at least not with the political class. So what attracted you to studying Churchill?
Well, Sir Winston Churchill, a lovable wordsmith, a man that could just cut somebody down with a few words, great wit, incredible orator. He's somebody that I guess I also had an affinity for, because a lot of, I guess, the traits that he kind of, including the bad ones, that he kind of had, I felt that I had an inclination toward as well. I think that Sir Winston Churchill was somebody that really, he was extreme in everything that he did. He probably ate too much. He probably drank too much. And I think that's what makes him so relatable. And then, of course, he loved the English language. He had this unbelievable command of the English language, and all of those things combined made me fascinated by him. It was actually my father that told me to read Churchill's speeches, made me read Churchill's speeches when I was 8 or 9 years old. And so I really kind of got into that. And of course, Australia and England have got a very strong connection. And growing up in Australia, Winston Churchill was obviously a big part of history and the school curriculum, and his involvement in Anzac Day, which was one of his failures, was always taught to us. So I grew up really finding out a lot about Sir Winston, and was very fortunate enough to travel to England multiple times and go to the Churchill war rooms and really get an even more enhanced feel for him.
Yeah, we've actually designed the economic war room on the concept of the Churchill war rooms, even down to the fact that we have a vault door on our bunker. We have a Churchill bust here in the war room. So I've been fascinated with Churchill a lot. And we talk about him all the time, too, because he was a master strategist. And we talk about Dunkirk and Operation Dynamo and things like that. So, yeah, I get that. I think it makes sense to study Churchill. And it makes sense especially, I think, now. When you started writing your book, Donald Trump wasn't a wartime president. But with the COVID-19 virus surrounding the planet and all of the implications, the shortages and then the people sheltering in place, it has a wartime feel to it. And that's something that you hadn't anticipated, I don't think.
No, absolutely not. But you're exactly right. I guess looking ahead, you may have been able to see that both Donald Trump and Winston Churchill are the kind of men, are the kind of leaders that you would want in circumstances like this. And you see how Donald Trump framed this by calling it the invisible enemy. I mean, I think that's very Churchillian. I think that Sir Winston Churchill, faced with similar circumstances, may well have used that kind of language. But we are seeing Donald Trump leading, I think, contrary to everything that the left are trying to tell us and the mainstream media are saying every night over and over again. I think this president is doing an outstanding job. And the one thing, Kevin, I think that is vastly understated and under-recognized at this point is that Donald Trump shut down travel to China almost immediately.
Yes. And
he gets no credit for that.
He was being accused of being a racist.
Precisely.
And the people in New York, Mayor de Blasio and Nancy Pelosi, were all saying, hey, let's go out and hug Chinese people to show we're not racist. Let's gather in crowds in Chinatown, which is obviously the worst possible advice. But shutting down travel, and Dr. Fauci said that made a big difference in slowing the viruses appearing here in this country.